Habits 365 Conscious Minds podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Conscious Minds podcast. I'm your host, Chris Holbert, and today we are joined with the founder and CEO of Habits 365, Spencer Zide. Spencer, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me on as always, Chris. Today we have a guest, and this guest is different from some of the others that we've had on. You've obviously heard many different episodes of ours to this point, and we've had a wide range of folks. Today we have a brand ambassador. His name's Kendall Edwards, and Kendall has a lot of unique perspectives and a very impactful and compelling story that I want to get into and that I want to talk about. Kind of his background, how we got here, and kind of what the future holds. So, Kendall, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Chris and Spencer.
Absolutely, man. So, I guess let's get right into it. So, you're Kendall. You wanted to become a Habits brand ambassador, and you did. Great, awesome stuff. Talk to me about, I guess, what stood out to you about the company and why you even were interested in joining in the first place.
Okay, so to be honest, I didn't even know what it would entail. I was just scrolling through Facebook one day and I seen, Habits 365 brand ambassadors wanted. Now, while I was in work, at least there was another person I knew who was actually brand ambassadoring for another company. So I asked him, I was like, hey, like, what does brand ambassadoring even mean? He was like, oh, basically you represent the company, they might send you clothes, whatever. He was like, but, you get involved with them. Told me about some of the possibilities that could come from it. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, so do you think I should get into it? He was like, well, why would you want to get into that one? I was like, well, it just says something about Habits 365. I was like, so from my perspective is like, practicing good habits every day of the year. So he was like, well, man, if you want to hop on it, do it. I was like, yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend the money. It was right around my birthday time. I had money coming in. So I was like, I'm going to spend the money. So really, I liked the hoodie and it stood out to me. And I was like, if I could be a brand, it just sounded cool. So whenever I did it and I posted about it, and there was a lot of people asking about it, so I could sit there and be like, yo, I'm a brand ambassador for this company. Like, what's up? Like, I thought I was the man just to be able to say that. Really.
Right.
But like I had liked the clothes, but I was just coming from where I have been and practicing the things I was practicing, because I used to have a lot of bad habits. I thought it was cool just to have something to recognize habits, whatever they are, every day of the year. So I joined it, and then I had done my post, and I fell off for a while. Because like I couldn't get anybody to buy it. It's just hard to actually just get people to like go purchase stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, but you know what? I still like the brand, so I'm still wearing it everywhere. I always had my bracelet on. Like I've had this bracelet on for a long time. So that's basically how it got started. And then closer to me thinking about the walk, like, and just practicing the good habits, like that's when I hopped right back in the brand, went and bought some more clothes, and then reached out and heard from what's her name again?
Natalie?
Yeah, Natalie. For some reason I thought it started with a C, but I had posted something about the walk that I'm doing, which we'll get into that, and she had reached back out about it. And at first I was just like, hey, I know you're just an admin on this thing. I was like, but do you happen to know like the CEO's person? She was like, well, actually, this is where I am in the company and I work with them like on a daily basis. Like, oh, wow, you're just the person I need to talk to. I was like, well, this is what I'm doing and I would like to represent this company through it. And so from there on, that's that's where we are now. Like,
That's right, exactly. And so just to give the audience some background, so I first saw you when you were featured on a blog post about your sobriety, which I thought was really impactful. I didn't realize I guess who you were and what you were before you joined the company. I just thought, oh, you're just another brand ambassador, great, awesome. But you really embodied positive habits. So I want the audience to kind of fully understand, I guess, where you had come from to where you are now. Everyone sees the social media. We'll talk about the walk and kind of what that means. But I want you to kind of, travel with me in a time machine, if you will, and kind of talk to me about where you were before this company, what happened, and how you got here and how you're here now.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in the church, like strict Christian household, where like my mom for the first few years of my life wouldn't even wear pants outside of the house. So there was a lot of strict grounding. I was at church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Very sheltered from like the real world. I was in private school for a while. Fifth grade was my first year in public school, and like that's where I hear kids cussing and stuff, and like it was totally different for me. But still good. Was very involved in the church. I used to lead church praise bands and stuff like that. Somebody I was in the praise band with had started smoking weed with like his brother-in-law or something. And like the first time he ever did it, it was around me, but I was like, no, I'm not about that life. Like I even broke up with a girl because she had smoked weed and I was 14 and I just was like, drugs are bad, all this stuff. So, push comes to shove. I end up hitting him up like, hey man, like I'm trying to hang out, but like I kind of want to try it. Like y'all seem to be having some fun. So I started smoking with them and hanging out, had a good time. I ain't gonna lie, we had a great time numerous times just hanging out, acting crazy. I end up getting arrested in somebody's front yard waiting on somebody because we were smoking in the car and the cops had pulled up. And I was underage, so I ended up doing a thing called teen court, and I had probation. And I had to go to the courthouse every Thursday night and like do jury duty and stuff like that. And it was around the same time that the synthetic weed was taken off, and that you could just go to the gas station and buy it, and you couldn't get popped on a drug test. And that's like where everything went downhill. It was so addicting, and like I was literally going, and I was in the parking lot of the courthouse before I'd walk in for my drug test, smoking it in the car. And like I had enjoyed it so much. Some of the friends I hung out with, they end up finding out how to make it, so they started making it. So I was getting it for free all the time, and my limits were like the sky was the limit with it. My tolerance was extremely high. Like I would smoke with people and they would feel like they're going to die and beg me to stop because I couldn't stop. Like I would just ridiculous amounts. On top of like I had got involved in cough medicine. Now everybody's like, "Oh, those aren't real drugs." Let me tell you, my withdrawals were so bad. Like I would wake up 10 times in the middle of the night and have to put a shirt over where I was sleeping because it'd be drenched in sweat and smoke more. I had to take clothes to school to change because in the cold classroom I'm sweating because I need to smoke. I was going at bathroom breaks every class just to smoke more behind a portable. So that let me down. Actually, I tried to join the Marine Corps, and I was in the delayed entry program. I lived with my recruiter and everything because I had a problem with stealing from my parents as well. And like I got kicked out of the house with it. And just real quick, I used to justify stealing from my parents because I thought unconditional love, and I thought that they would never turn their back on me. Being locked up all these times, I've seen so many people that have never even done their family wrong, but just because of the choices they made, that their family has cut them off. So I was completely wrong about that. There was I'm blessed to still have my family in my life. Let's say that. So it went downhill from there. The stealing got worse. It just got so bad that I got kicked out of the house so many times. My mom wanted me to go to rehab one day, and I told her, yeah, I'll go. She takes me and she picks me up, takes me in the house. I was like, can I please get a shower though? I've been out all night. She was like, yeah. So I turned the shower water on. I packed up all my stuff. I took her laptop and just started walking down the road. So next thing you know, I ended up getting arrested that day. And that was my first time actually going to big boy jail. Did 30 days. I was the light in there. I was preaching God, all this, but like my mind was still like, I can't wait to get out and get high. Got out, and it was just a revolving door nonstop. I've been in the county I'm in is Clay County. I've been in Clay County jail 10 times. I've been in Duval County once. I've been to prison twice, and I've done inpatient rehab. I was just doing some math the other day. If you include probation and rehab as a form of lockup, which I am a product of the system at that time, in the last 120 months, 10 years, I've only been free for 10 months. So it's been a bad cycle. So I went to rehab for the cough medicine and the K2, got out. Then I just started popping acid. But for me, it was adrenaline rush. Um, that was my main addiction. Like, yes, I did drugs, but the adrenaline rush behind stealing. My biggest thing was breaking into houses. I used to love to break into houses, especially if people were in there, just to see if I could get away with it. Um, in and out, just stealing like that. And it's so crazy because, I was blessed to not get caught for every time that I've done it, but I have got caught. So fast forward 2015. Actually, so this walk, I planned it before. I planned it in 2014 because 2013 I did a year in the county. I came across a newspaper article about a guy that did it. Reached out to him. He told me all about doing something for a cause, about walking and how great it is. So I put everything together. End up back on the drugs. I actually got back on the cough medicine. Me and this girl that I was with, we end up going over to this truck driver's house that we had never met before, and he roofied both of us. Like, apparently we smoked crack that day. I don't even remember it. All kinds of stuff. Asked us to have sex for money in front of him, everything. I just remember going outside. I got in an argument with a neighbor, and I ended up getting jumped by like 6 people in my neighborhood, and like they smashed my head in the concrete. I ended up going to jail though because I couldn't stop talking smack when the police showed up, and like this was all in my police report. I don't even remember it. I do remember like this big guy was like telling me something, and I poked him. He's like, "Don't touch me again." I poked him again. Like, he put me in an arm bar and just sat on me till the cops got there. And like, that's like the little bit I remember. But I go to jail. They actually held her hostage. Dude tried to take her to Virginia, like with sex trafficking. It was a big situation. She ended up getting out of it, talking about, I need my medication. Went over to our roommate's house, and the dude came out with a bat, and the dude took off. I actually ended up reuniting with the dude that roofied us in the county jail so many months later. Me and him had our altercation. But back to 2015, I broke into a post office. We're back on drugs, homeless. My parents didn't want me at the house, didn't have anywhere to go. I broke into a post office, stole a bunch of people's Christmas presents, Christmas cards, prescription pills, all kinds of stuff. The FBI, the Secret Service, like 40 police, the K9s came out. It was a mom and pop shop post office in a retirement community. So I didn't actually get fed time because they didn't have a security system or security cameras or anything like that. And I don't think they wanted the publicity behind putting me in the Fed. So I just got regular time. I got blessed on that time. End up going to a boot camp in prison, getting out of prison early with 2 years probation, worked a full-time job, but I got back on the weed. So now I'm smoking weed and I'm not going to my drug tests and stuff. Probation officers calling me everything. They violated me once. I got out, kept smoking the weed. They ended up violating me again. And like, this is just how I've had favor in my life. Okay, like me, I'm a believer in God, and God has really showed a lot of favor in my life. And this is how. So I got out. When you have a violation of probation, you don't get a bond. And this was like 5 days before Christmas. They gave me a bond on my next violation. So I ended up getting out. I was able to go to the courthouse from the street. So I go to the courthouse, and now they want to send me back to prison because this is my 3rd time I violated for pissing dirty for marijuana. So I was like, please don't send me back to prison. Like, I can't go back, whatever. Then it came down to, well, you didn't end up going to rehab when you got out of prison last time because of the program you went to. It kept you from going to rehab. They were like, would you be willing to go back to that rehab? I was like, do I have to sit in county jail till I go? He's like, no, you're out on bond. I was like, yes, I'll go to rehab. Go in front of the judge. The judge ends up just dropping my probation with a year left right there because I had been paying my fines, working. I was just smoking weed. That right there was like a huge blessing. Same judge is like, do not come back in my courtroom. 5 months later, I'm back in his courtroom for kicking in somebody's door and then breaking into storage units. So all due to drugs and addiction to adrenaline rushes that like I couldn't help myself even though I could. I just enjoyed it and I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't think twice, um, because when it comes down to it, mental health, I had a strong mind, but I also had a weak mind. I could sit there and give advice to everybody, but not take my own advice. And I would give good advice, and people would reach out to me because of that. But I could not take my own advice. I did not care about what other people thought about the lifestyle I was living because I wanted to live it, and I got a rush off of it, and it just kept putting me in jail, and it doesn't make sense. And I guess you could even say I was insane because insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. But I was just getting the same results every time, thinking I could get away with all this stuff that I'm not getting away with. It's crazy. So that led me to this sentence right here. So when we kicked in the doors, there was actually supposed to be people home that day. The people were not there. So that right there saved me from. I end up getting an armed burglary, but I would have had a home invasion, which is like so much more severe that if those people would have been in that house right now, I'd be doing 25 to life. Just
Wow.
because I just got out of prison in 2016 and this is 2017, like just so soon. They also have a thing called the Prison Release Reoffender Act, and I qualified to get the PR, which is what I just said, which means I really, even for what I've done right now, I should be doing 15 mandatory. The judge showed blessing again. It's the same judge that told me not to be back in his courtroom. So fast forward, now I'm doing my time. I'm in prison, caught 5 years. So I wasn't getting high a lot, like very, very few times, but I still got high. And some people were like, well, that doesn't even really count because like you weren't addicted in there. I was like, but I still did it. So there was one day it came to a point like where I had stopped smoking cigarettes and everything, and I had gained a lot of weight, and I was very self conscious about it. And it came to the point where people were calling me BBK, which stood for Bad Bodied Kindle, and like it was funny. But at one point, it was like I look in the mirror one day, I'm like, I got to make a change. So I ended up getting with this really elite workout crew that was like way higher than any level I could ever imagine, and I stuck with them and just doing that, and I started losing weight really quickly. I had quit smoking cigarettes. I had got sober. Like I was like, it got into a point where somebody was like, hey, you want some of this for free? I'm like, nah, bro, I quit doing it. um Everything changed from there. April 12th 2019. Yeah, 2019, April 12th is my sobriety date. I'll be 31 months sober next week. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's that right now is the biggest accomplishment of my life. Now, some people be like, well, that's not much. Successful people, you don't understand. Like from where I came from, the person I was, it's a big deal.
Right.
Like I don't even desire anything. I don't even desire the adrenaline rush of breaking into a house. Like whenever I get upset, it makes me want to go twice as hard in the gym every time. And I
Hmm.
do. Like I'll sweat out the negativity, whatever.
It's
Um,
your new adrenaline rush.
yeah, exactly. That's how I get it. Like now, like I want to go skydiving. Like that's how I want to go get my rush. Like I don't- the jail is for the birds. Like it's not a life to live. I've missed out on so much, and even the bad things like the COVID situation, everything. Like I missed out. I got out, had to go to an eye doctor's appointment. I had to wear a mask, and like I'm used to wearing it on the city bus, but I was so institutionalized that going into a store like that and having to wear it like blew my mind. They're like, make
Hmm.
sure it's above your nose. I'm like, okay, like
Yeah, that's
it's just so weird, but that alone just changed my mindset. And then I started reading, but I wouldn't read novels. I would only read like elevating philosophical books, stuff to help you get your mind right. I came across
hmm
this one book. It was called Mind is the Master, and it was this guy James Allen, um, late 1800s, early 1900s. He wrote a bunch of books, and this was like all of his books in one. and a lot of it was repetitive. It just had different ways of saying it, and it was really extensive vocabulary. Like I had to reread some of these sentences numerous times, but it was all about positive mindset. And from there on out, it was like, okay, like be positive about everything. Even if you're having a bad day, like be positive about everything. I came across one word in there, and this word has changed my life. Nobility. Something in me told me to go look it up in the dictionary. When I did look it up in the dictionary, it said being free of pettiness and possessing excellent qualities. Now, when I think of nobility, I just think about like noble knights from the medieval times and stuff like that. And then like to actually read the meaning behind it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like people I have coffee and people are asking for cups and I don't even want to give it to them cuz I'm getting low, but like do I even deserve to have this because I did wrong and I'm in here?" So now it's like y'all can have my last. But the whole the tenfold thing came to light when I started doing that. So when somebody
Mhm.
needed something from me and I gave it to them, even if it was my last, I got blessed tenfold. There was people like reaching out to me from the streets that never had before, like, "Hey, do you need money? Do you need?" I'm just like, "How is this happening?" And it just all came with a life change. And these people don't even know that I've made this conscious decision to have a mind change because unlike work release, I don't have access to social media, a phone, or anything like that in there. So it's just like,
Right. Talk a little more about the work release because you're recently off of it. So I want to know kind of what that trajectory looked like.
okay, absolutely. So, work release, whenever you get down to about your last year, as long as you've been good and you don't have any like crazy charges, you have the opportunity to go to work release, which is basically a transition into the real world. So I do wear an ankle monitor. I did have a GPS system that like I have to stay by or I will get in trouble. It pinpoints like every step. I was able to stay at the center. I would go to work every day. I had to ride the city bus, ride it back. I had a time frame, like a 2 hour time frame to get to work, to get back from work, and I had to stay at the center. Because of COVID, it took them about 6 months after being there, but about after 6 months, I was able to get furloughs to go to my parents' house on my day off, which was on Sundays. So about the last 2 3 months, I've been at my parents' house every Sunday. But other than that, it's a lot better than being in prison, but you're still locked up. I was able to save up some money, even though they do take a huge percentage of your check for rent and court fines and stuff like that. But they did put some in savings and everything like that. So whenever I was released on Saturday, I was able to leave with a couple checks to go cash, um, to help myself, which is good. But that's pretty much what work release is. The food is a little better. I could have people DoorDash me food to work. I was able to have a cell phone and wear real clothes. So you got to feel
Mhm.
like a normal human being. You got to go out, even though if it was just at the downtown bus station, I could still interact with individuals that aren't locked up. So that was like a blessing in itself.
Yeah, do you feel like so are you in a new environment like from where you were like before when you were doing all the stuff like the drug use, the getting in prison? Are you in a new environment?
So I'm back at my mom's house right now. I've always stayed there, but like with the drugs, I was never really at home.
Mm.
I was always out and about and just doing crazy stuff. So, but I guess in a sense, I could say I am in a new environment because I have a new mindset.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I'm still back at my parents for now, where I am going to the same church, but my old environment also consisted of many toxic people in my life that I was
Yeah.
around all the time. I'm not around those toxic people anymore.
You're just kind of a lump sum of those people. You know, the people you tend to hang around with, you tend to morph into the specific qualities that they possess. And then you attain those qualities because you're around them all the time. Do you think that's helped you get out of those bad habits, not being around those people, and kind of focusing on yourself and not being a slave to the things around you?
For the most part, yeah. Being around people that I enjoyed being around when I did it, yeah, because like we always had a good time and everything like that. Now, don't get me wrong, being in work release back in the free world, I was around everything. Like people in my room were doing drugs all the time and I would see it. It all comes down to I choose not to do it and I lost my desire for it. So even
Mm.
if I did go back with those old people I was with, I'm almost willing to bet that I'm strong enough to be like no and leave the situation if they disrespected me and wanted to keep doing it around me. But I just choose not to put myself back around those people that I know are doing
And
stuff.
that's
Just
powerful, man. That's powerful. Being able to willfully choose to not fall back into the habits that you had previously. Because that is truly change when you can take yourself, put yourself in that same situation, and act differently because you've changed as a person. I think that is very powerful, and that's kudos to you for putting in that time and doing and making the changes that you needed to get to the place where you are now.
thank you. I appreciate that. And something that my judge said to me, and I never thought I would appreciate a judge for saying anything to me because he gives me all the time. But my mom, so the day I was getting sentenced, my mom like raised her hand in the courtroom. She's like, Your Honor, can I say something? He was like, Yeah. She's like, I know you have to sentence him to prison, but we want you to put him in rehab when he's done. So the judge was like looking at my thing. She was like, He's been to rehab before. He's been on probation. It didn't work. He was like, of course, we do sentence people to rehab to give them a chance. He was like, but personally, I don't really believe in it like that. He was like, if somebody wants to get right, they are going to get right. If they don't, they're making excuses and they're
Mm.
just saying something that people want to hear. And if that isn't the realest thing that I've ever heard somebody say, I was just telling somebody earlier this morning, I was like about a week after I started changing, like, and started working out, like, I remember that my judge had said that. And like, I was like, thank you for saying that because you are so right. Like,
Wise words.
it definitely is. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, I don't have a support system, so I'm going to keep shooting up this heroin. But like, you hate the way you feel on it. Why keep doing it if you don't like the lifestyle? It's the excuses behind it, and a lot of people are scared to admit it, and that's the biggest thing is admitting it and wanting to do right. Like, of course you can make it's a sympathy thing. I feel like a lot of people try to get sympathy, like, oh, woe is me, I don't have this,
To
I
play
don't
the
have
victim.
that. But there's so many other ways to cope with things that are positive, that help mental health on top of like that physical health, which is like getting clean. Um, the and mental health is the biggest thing. People get depressed and then they want to do that, and that depresses them more. I had somebody reach out to me and they were like, Kendall, how are you so positive all the time? They're like, I'm struggling with drugs and everything like that. And I was like, check it out. I was like, of course I had fun on drugs, but I had a lot of bad times too. I've been locked up a lot. When it boils down to it, think about the stress that you cause when it comes to drugs. You have to, first of all, spending money, lots and lots of money. You're wasting all this money when there's things you want to do, but you can't, but you can find a way to go get high. Um, the stress of waiting on the plug to show up, and sometimes he doesn't show up. Sometimes he's on the dope boy time and it takes him 2 hours when he's like, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Like the stressful wait because you need your fix. Um, the relationships with people that you care about, that care about you, that you lose because you choose this over them. Um, your physical health, you're destroying yourself. Like maybe you had weight on and now you weigh next to nothing and you hate the way you look because of drugs, but to make yourself feel better, you're gonna go do more drugs. And there's just so much more that it boils down to, like why getting clean is really like the best option for you all the way around, financially, physically, mentally, everything. It's just crazy. And I never thought about it while I was in the middle of my addiction. It took me like overcoming and people reaching out to me like, how are you like this? And I'm just like, I don't know, just high on life.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I would say like for you, it didn't seem like there was one oh shit moment. It seemed like there were a few. And you were at a point, you were at a couple of different low points, but each time you just figured out how to get out of one step at a time. And even though some would argue you took one step forward and then two steps back, you started changing that pattern. You started taking two steps forward, maybe one step back, two steps forward, one step back, and then gradually you're getting out of that deep dark hole that you dug for yourself, frankly. And now you are out of it as a free person. So I want to know how that, first of all, feels, just being free, off work release, and how kind of your walk is something that, besides just getting into the walk and talking about kind of why you're doing it and what it is that something, was that a light at the end of the tunnel that you saw throughout? Or was that just something that you kind of buried in the back of your mind and didn't really think about at all? And were there motivating factors that allowed you to kind of help you get out of these situations, to someone who's pretty, realistically down bad right now, not after, someone breaks your heart or you have a rough day at work, like actually down bad. um, what would you say to them as well? I know there was lots to unpack there, but please do it as you wish.
Okay, so with the getting out, yes, my walk was like my biggest motivation for getting out, just to take the next step of moving forward. Now I can call news stations and even promote it more, because to be honest, I wasn't even supposed to be on social media, but I did. Now some of the people at the center knew, but I never kept getting out in the back of my mind. But this past week, it was really so overwhelming that I'm like, are these people really about to let me go? Like, come Saturday, is it really going to happen? Like, what if I go to, like, okay, I'm not going to work, like it's time to go, and they're like, no, like it's not your time, you did wrong. And I'm just like, oh man. So even when he cut my ankle monitor off, I had posted a picture of it on Facebook. I was like, this can't be happening. Like, is this really happening? So it was overwhelming. And honestly, I don't even think it's hit me yet. Like, of course, I've gotten to go do a few things so far, but like, I really don't think it's hit me yet. Like, I've been told that it'll be a couple weeks before you're really like, wow, I am really out here and I don't have to go back. So when it's so crazy, man, that like I even get the other opportunity at life again. It's an overwhelming blessing to have all the support that I've had. Like I said, if those people would have been home, I'd be doing 25 to life. They could have hit me with the 15 mandatory PRR for what I did do, but there was a bigger picture in my life. I was meant to do something different, and that's where it stood out. And it's funny that you said the thing about the heartbreak. That's actually, I wouldn't say it was a heartbreak, but it definitely led down to a female that did me dirty of why I've actually chose to like go on this walk. And it's so crazy because I had been talking to this chick. I really, really liked her. So we end up actually meeting and hooking up. Um, and after that, we were still talking for a little bit. And she was on the sober track. She ended up relapsing. Her baby's father got out of prison. She went back with him, and then just like completely left me hanging. And I was like, yo, like we had planned on actually like, getting together, starting a relationship. Like she said she could see being with me full time. So when it came down to it and that happened, I was like, wow, like I was playing. I shouldn't even tried why I'm still locked up and I can't be out there spending time with her. And then like it dawned on me, I remembered the walk that I had planned in 2014. We had this like painting at work, and it was like it was like the whole world, the continents, and I seen it. And I was like, yo, I was supposed to walk across America. I was like, I'm in the perfect position right now to do this. Like, I have money right now. I was like, I don't have any tie downs. Like, yo, I'm about to make this happen. So I had said something about it on Facebook, and like my big thing was like my mom hitting me back and being like, son, like you're an adult now. It's just time to focus on work and all that stuff. My mom was like, this is a great idea. Like, I want to walk your first little bit with you. So I'm just like, wow, like that right there was like, okay, this is meant to be. So like now everybody in work leaves, like I'm telling them like, yeah, I'm going on this walk. I'm telling the staff like I'm going on this walk, everything like that. So it's been like so pumped up, and I've definitely kept that in the front of my mind for getting out to stay positive, because like I knew like when I get out now I can go train. Now I can go train. Like yesterday I went and ran 3 miles like early in the morning in the cold rain. Like yeah, it was rough. And
Pretty
even in the
combo.
middle of that, I was like, wow. I was like, I picked a bad time to start. But
Yeah, right.
but
So
honestly, there's symbolism behind everything that the walk does. As for like telling anybody, like I said earlier, when it came down to that Mind is the Master book, a positive mindset goes a long way, even through hard times. You got to realize that there's always hope. I did come across an acronym and I love it, and it was like, hold on, pain ends. Um, and there is always hope. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm also big on speaking positive things into existence. If you dwell on negative thoughts, you're going to have a negative outcome. Some people can't overcome thinking negative thoughts. I literally just had a falling out with one of my best friends, a huge falling out, over negative thinking, and it was really sad. But it's
Those
just
are the hardest ones when people that you're close with are in that perpetual negative cycle. I've had situations where I've had to end friendships and relationships with folks because they're in this perpetual state of negativity, and it's not healthy for you to be involved with that. You can't weigh yourself down or hold yourself back for somebody else. You don't want to be hosting a pity party. You want to make sure that everyone in your life is kind of sharing that same energy. And while they don't need to be on your level per se, you want to be with people who are motivated and who are kind of really focused on being the best version of themselves, or the better version of themselves every single day, whatever it might be. And if people have kind of anchors tying them down, that's something that you have to start to look at yourself and say, hey, is this something I really want to be part of right now? So I'm sure that was pretty difficult for you. How did you kind of navigate that situation?
so when it first went down, it got to the point where I reached out to somebody that was close with them, and I let them know that the situation that was going on, and they were like, you are not in the, because I had blocked his number and everything, and he was like, you're not in the wrong, bro. He was like, if anything, give him a couple weeks. Maybe he was just having a bad couple days. Maybe he was involved in stuff he shouldn't have been. He's like, give it a couple weeks and apologize, or see if he'll apologize to you. And I was like, you know what, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Turns out he went a little further and reached out to like some of my family and disrespected my family. So that's when like I knew I had to draw the line. Like, I always have love for a person as a friend and care from them from a distance. But when it comes down to it, like you said, to be the best version of myself, there's certain things I can't have in my life that are going to affect my mindset. And I know where I have to be. I've never known where I had to be in life before because I didn't care. Now I care. And it boils down to, even if I have to cut off family, if my mom was not living the lifestyle she should or negative, I would have to cut her off. Like, and I'm prepared to do it. But luckily I'm blessed with a great family. But it doesn't matter who it is. And like I was literally on live on Facebook a few days ago, and I was like, it doesn't matter how close you are with anybody. If you feel these people dragging you down, cut them out of your life, even if it's for just a certain amount of time or forever. Um, you have to do what's best for you. And if you're letting people hold you back, in the end, I'm a winner. I like to win. If I let these people get the best of me and I act on it, that person wins. Why would I let somebody else win over me, especially in a negative scenario? It's I can't have it. That's out. Like that's all the way
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Totally.
And this person has done a lot for me, and I'll always appreciate everything they've done for me, and I'll never take it for granted. But when it comes down to it, like there's certain things I can't have in my life, and I refuse to. because of being positive. So if there's anything I can tell anybody that listens, like, be willing to make that sacrifice. It doesn't matter how close you are, because in the end, you have to do what's best for you. And if somebody's bringing you down, you don't need that in your life, and you deserve to cut them out, because we all have worth, and we have to know our worth. And you really can't truly know your worth if you're allowing things to stay in your life that drag you down.
Right.
Those are
Right.
some wise words from a now wise man. The growth, man. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, hearing this whole story from where you were before to where you are now is honestly incredible. It should be inspirational to anyone hearing this. I mean, these are the types of stories that give people hope in times of need. And I'm glad that we have you on here to talk about it and to hopefully give hope to people that maybe they're in a tough situation they need to get out of, and everything seems so grim and they don't know what to do. Well, here you go. Here's some living proof of what can happen if you make the right decisions, if you choose to do the right things in order to better your life. You know, I mean, it's just so inspirational. It's mind blowing, man. So I also want to talk more about the walk. So where exactly is this happening? When is it happening? Let people know about it.
Awesome. So first off, the walk is called a walking testimony, like you just said, a living example of somebody that has been able to overcome and everything. So it's called a walking testimony, the journey of a lifetime. I will be leaving on January 1st at 10:30 a.m. from Jacksonville, Florida Beach Pier, and it'll be anywhere between a 6 to 7 month journey to La Push, Washington State, where they filmed the Twilight movie. Um, there's something for it about me about starting with my feet in the water at the beach and ending with my feet in the water at the beach on the other side. But so the walk is, of course, not just walking for fun, walking for a cause, causes. So mental health awareness, recovery, parentheses, sobriety, because, that's my recovery, but other people recover from other things. But recovery, and then obviously Habits 365, just to show everybody y'all need to practice healthy habits every single day of the year, because, it'll affect you mentally, physically, even spiritually in some people's cases. Um, so, like I said, there is a lot of meaning and reasons that I do everything I do. So the January 1st, I mentioned like it's a bad time to leave, but okay, people struggling with depression that are on the verge of taking their lives, people struggling in the depths of addiction that are suffering every single day that they don't get a hit. It's a hard thing to overcome. Going through those withdrawals to get clean is a rough thing. When I leave, I'll be seeing snow for the first time. I'll be walking through snow. I've never seen snow. There's going to be bad weather. There's going to be rain, hail, probably everything that I've never experienced before. And it's going to be freezing when I start. I'm going through a hard time too whenever I do this. But I'm an overcomer and I'm a conqueror. And if I can overcome something like this, anybody can overcome getting over drugs. I've already done my accomplishment of getting over drugs. Now I got to tackle this. It's not easy, but you have to be willing to do it, to take that step to do it. So that's the representation behind leaving when I am leaving at that time. And then another thing is January 1st is an easy day. It's also Polar Plunge Day. There's going to be tons of people out at the beach going to jump in that water for the time. I'm going to be out there. The goal is really to have the news stations out there to cover it too, but I want to start with a following where people are out there like, what is this person doing? And they can go whenever I go live on all my social media outlets to talk about the walk and everything before I take off at 10:30. So I'm going to be out there from 8:30 to 10:30 and take off just so people can come out and meet up. I already have a group of people that are going to be out there. So throughout the walk, of course, I'll be wearing Habits 365 gear. But I also have shirts that are currently being made. They're almost finished, actually. It's going to say a walking testimony on the front, the journey of a lifetime on the back. I have 180 names. I've reached out to people on Facebook. These are all names of people that have lost their lives to drug overdoses and suicides. The first name on the list is one of my best friends that died the week I got locked up from heroin overdose. So these people, even though they physically can't be there, they're getting one last journey, and they're being remembered. And hopefully, through their testimonies, even though they're not here, we can save a life. The 180 names represents a 180-degree turn in life to do the better thing. Because everybody's like, oh, you need to make a 360. Well, if I do a 360, that's put me right back where I was. 180 is opposite direction. So, living the lifestyle I did, I've made my 180. Now I want people to remember that 180. Like that's another meaning behind that. Um, so it's a little over 3,200 miles. Those are the causes that I'm walking for. It's going to be a battle, but the goal is to meet as many people as possible, share a story of hope, advocate, against drugs, against depression. Go out there and just be a bright light in a very, very dark world. And it just gets darker every day. And you know what they say, like if you light a candle, it still lights up a huge room that's like completely dark. One little candle can do it. So like if we get people on board with this, a bunch of little lights, it's like the opportunities are endless. Like, but in the end, if I can just save one life, one person from putting that needle in their arm again and overdosing, one person from putting that gun to their head to take their life, like then I have succeeded in my journey. So
Mm-hmm. It's
that's
about spreading the message.
yeah, so that's the main thing behind it. I was talking to somebody recently, and they put out an idea I hadn't even thought of. They're like, whenever you get through towns, you should look up AA and NA meetings and see if you can call and can't come in and speak while you're in there for that town for that night.
I love that.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So I will also be staying in a tent on some parts of the journey. Um, I have walking sticks. Actually, I put up an Amazon wish list of items I'm going to need. People have already been sending stuff. It's such a blessing. I'm so grateful that people are already looking out and showing love for this. There's already been there will be a GoFundMe account. I am raising money during this. At the end, 70% of whatever is raised will be going straight to a charity. I don't have a specific one yet because there's so many, and I know I will come across some along the way. But everything, all transactions, everything will be documented just so everybody knows that we are all on the same page. I don't want anybody to think that that's the only reason I'm in it just to get money, say I'm going to do it for cause and then not do it. Everything will be professionally done because a man's only as good as their word and their word's only as good as their action. So that's where I'm at with that. But I've already made the GoFundMe. I'm just not launching it till closer to time. I put it.
Kendall, I want to. Oh, sorry to interrupt, Kendall. I want to play devil's advocate for a moment here. As we're kind of singing and dancing Kumbaya, there might be some audience members who are pretty skeptical. Say, look at this guy. Look at what he's done. He's clean now. He's free now. This is great. But given his history, given his past, how can we trust him? Why would I want to donate to this? How do I know that he's not going to pocket it? How do I know that he's even going to do this walk? Talking to somebody who's very skeptical and doesn't really buy it. How do you deal with that? How do you not let that negatively affect your energy? And what would you say to somebody who's in that mind frame?
Okay, so first of all, one of the reasons I'm not launching the GoFundMe until I'm leaving is because I don't want people to put money into it before I go. Just because like I could back out at any minute, you know what I'm saying? But I choose not to. Going forward with that, trust is hard. Trust is hard. No matter what, it's hard to trust family sometimes. No matter what you do, I can sit here and say a bunch of things that sound good. Every time that I've been in jail and was about to get out, I told my mom, "Yeah, I'm gonna be clean. Go right out and go get high." If you've known me before, then you can see the change. But a lot of people don't know me and are sitting here listening to my story. Of course, I can completely understand. You don't have to donate. You don't have to. If you wanted to buy me lunch along the way, if you wanted to just see if I'm starting the walk, if you wanted to wait till I got to a certain state just to see that I made it that far and actually have lived up to my word, um to where I'm going. Like I've reached out to other major companies about sponsoring me. I never heard back and I don't expect to hear back, but I have a feeling that somewhere along that way I will get reached out to by other companies because they're like, wow, like you actually took off on this mission that you set your mind to. Um in the end, it's not about the money though. It's about saving the lives. But if we can raise money to donate to a charity, cool. But like I said, 70%, and then 30%, like I would keep, but I'm also going to use that to put into something better. But I'm also not working for a while. So, that's going to help me. Like, I won't even be using that money along the way. That money won't be getting touched till the very end. But of course, I could understand being skeptical. Now, at the end, whenever I do pick the charity, you can wait and donate straight to that charity if you wanted to. So there's no obligations to donate, but it can always be used for good. I put it like this. I think it can raise a lot of money, and a lot of money can go to a good charity. Um, I think I might have told you this before, Spencer, that I came across the meme that had the football stadium or whatever, and it had 90,000 people in it. And it was talking about, and I don't remember if it was the drug overdoses specifically or the suicide specifically, but it said, this is how many people, 90,000 people died of just one of those two last year. If you think about it, everybody either has been, knows somebody, or knows somebody that knows somebody that's affected by mental health or recovery issues. There's 330 million people in the world. If just 1%, or in the United States,
In the U.S., yep.
1% of that population donated $1, you know how much money could go to a good charity and then also be used to turn around and go do something good? Because who knows, maybe I'll go walk somewhere else or do some totally different type of causes, or just advocate for great things, find new causes to advocate for. Because like, I've been through numerous life or death situations. I should not be alive. Like, I have overdosed. I've been hit by a car. I've been dragged by a car. I've had an ATV land on top of me. I've had guns pulled on me. I've been held hostage. All of that. I'm alive for a reason. Um, and I know it's to make a difference. I know I'm on this earth to do big things. Like I said, the money doesn't matter, but it also helps. So,
Of
I
course. Yep.
mean, if you did feel skeptical, wait till the end to donate. Wait till you see that 70% did get donated to the charity, and then you can donate to that charity or however you wanted to do it. I will also be putting up a specific like a Cash App link just for me if people do want to help me, like get hotel rooms whenever I am in certain places or get food and stuff, but that's also not required. I personally will be leaving with about $1,500 to cover myself through stuff like that, but that might not be enough to get all the way, and I might need help. And I have people that are prepared to help, but like just to raise the money, like I just think it's a big thing. And if anything, maybe I will pick a charity before I go because I still have a month and a half. But I know that there's so many good ones, and there might be one I come across that like really speaks to my heart. So
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is all for a greater cause. You're just the example that's spreading the message of this greater cause, which is awesome.
absolutely.
So I want to ask you one more question. With everything you've been through and to where you are now, to doing the walk, what would you say to someone that is struggling, and what would be your best piece of advice you'd give them?
um that you can overcome, that you can conquer. Back to the hope thing, hold on, pain ends. um Cut the negative people out of your life, anything that's holding you back. Make a goal list. That was one of my biggest things. I literally wrote down goals, and I started with a 30-day goal list, and then I started with then I went to a 60-day goal list, and I wrote down, and I had it under the 3 G's. I had God first. It was spiritual goals. I had go hard. It was physical goals, like for workouts and stuff. And then I had grow up, and that was mental goals. And I wrote down numerous ones, and I would look at it every single day. And both times I completed at least 95% of the goals, which a lot of people set goals and don't ever think about again. So set goals and self-sacrifice. You have to be willing to sacrifice things in your life that are holding you back from achieving greatness. If any toxicness, any negativity, you gotta get out of it, get rid of it, get it out of your life, move forward. But there is hope. You can do it. You can do anything that you set your mind to. Don't let anybody tell you differently. If you are, that's just the negativity that you don't need.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a beautiful piece of advice, man. I mean, I think that applies to anyone, no matter what situation they're in. That's something you should live by. I mean, perfect words of advice. I mean, Kendall, it's been great to have you here. I mean, to spread this message. Very excited to see how this walk is going to turn out. Hopefully, a lot of people tune in. If they want to find out or like look on the progress you've made, where would they find this?
So
type
I
of
do
stuff?
have a Facebook page that I've already made. It's called A Walking Testimony. Um, it's linked to my personal Facebook page, which is Kendall Kyndal Ray. Kendall Ray. That's how you can find me on Facebook. And also that Kendall Ray is on YouTube as well. And then I'll be putting up a TikTok and an Instagram for it as well. So I'll be covering it on the 4 social medias. And also I heard about Patreon. I haven't really looked into it, but I heard that's a good one for doing something like this. So you might, I don't know if that's something you can follow like that, but Patreon is definitely going to be another possibility.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Kendall.
Before we end, Kendall, of course, it was fantastic having you on. I'm really excited for the walk and to see your journey continue, not just with Habits, but with yourself. And Habits will be posting and promoting this walk on our social media pages. You guys can find it at habits_365 on TikTok as well. Same usernames for both. Once the walk does start, we'll be posting it. We'll be sending out emails and keeping you guys updated as well with all of that information. Just as a side note, Chris, back to you.
Perfect. Well, Kendall, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, been an honor talking to you, man.
Absolutely.
For real.
And thank you so much just for the opportunity, just to be able to be a brand ambassador and to get to go do what I do. It's a blessing. It's not about me. It's about the lives that are going to get saved. But just to be somebody that's able to do that, to be used as the person to get the word out and stuff, it's an honor. It's a blessing. And just to be alive and get another chance at life, gotta make it worth it.
Yeah, always gotta make it worth it. Well,
Absolutely.
this is the Conscious Minds podcast. I'm your host, Chris Holbert, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.